The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Dom.
And Father Cory Sticha. Hey, Father Cory.
How's it going?
Very well. And thank you for filling in for Father Joseph, who couldn't be with us.
Pleasure. Well, Dom's trying to make me work before I leave, before I quit podcasting. So he's going to get as much use out of me as I can.
I'm going to make you work every show, just like me. Yeah. You got all the shows with me. Father Joseph, he was just keep his people in prayers. Father is, in case you folks don't remember, is a priest in Nebraska, and they've been hit hard by tornadoes up there. So keep them in your prayers. He was telling about some of the people from one of his prior parishes that were hit pretty bad. So it's tornado season in the tornado alley. So I want to find some place where the weather is perfect, where they don't get hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, forest fires. There's got to be some place that's
heaven. Heaven.
Exactly.
Or Michigan, if next best choice. We don't get any of that here, really. Sometimes a tornado.
Montana's pretty good too, but we get forest fires, but once in a while.
Winter.
As they're having tornadoes south of us, we're getting snow tonight.
Oh man. Montana looks wonderful to me, but I just could not handle the snow. All right.
80 degrees and sunny here today.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Before we get into today's show, hey, someplace that's sunny, I want you to all check out another show on the StarQuest Network, The Catholics of Oz. You can find that wherever fine podcasts are found, or at sqpn.com/Oz. Yeah. Australia is wonderful, except for everything's trying to kill you.
Yep.
Yes.
So before we get into today's main topic, I do want to relate something that happened, another one of my tales of woe, but it actually happened to a lot of people. So if folks out there may have experienced this yourself and wondering what happened. Friday night, I was dropping my kids off. My girls were camping with their scout troop. And as I'm trying to get back in the car and get the GPS up, my phone is telling me you've been logged out of your Apple ID. You must re-enter your Apple ID settings and all this other stuff. It told me my account was locked, and it was very distressing. Let me tell you. Luckily, I could figure out where I was going. From there was, I didn't really need the GPS to get home. But when I got home, my plans for the evening were shot because now I'm trying to re-log in on everything, change my password. I have to, I have stolen device protection, so I have to have my wife's phone give me a code and all this other stuff. And frankly, it's amazing how many places you're logged in and how many things break when your Apple account breaks. I couldn't use my HomePods, which are also my home bridges for HomeKit. So therefore I couldn't use HomeKit. And it was just, I had to log into everything. I had to log into my Apple TV to watch TV. And for days I was finding things that I had to log in on again. It was just crazy making. No explanation from Apple. So this apparently happened to a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people. Apple has said nothing to say about it. And their status page, where it's supposed to tell you, the status of things, never said a word. Now, there have been some articles from 9to5Mac and Forbes on this, among other places. But the speculation I saw on MacBreak Weekly from the Twit Network is that there might have been a security incident where somebody may have gotten access to something, and they said out of an abundance of caution, they just flushed the system for everybody who might have been affected. It sounds scary, and that's just a speculation. There's no, that's not sure at all. But just in case folks were wondering if it happened to you and you're wondering what happened, it wasn't you particularly that was being attacked or hacked. That was one of my first thoughts is, did someone get into my account and trigger something. You weren't being targeted. It was a lot of people.
Everybody was being targeted.
Yeah.
You know,
You get a password reset, and you get a password reset, and you get a password reset.
You know, there's some comfort in the fact that in the idea that somebody was like aiming at a large group rather than you in particular. Because I'm not the one that they're hunting down. It's just they want to hit everybody. There's a little comfort in being the crowd.
I'm so vain, I probably think this hack is about me.
Oh, good one.
Thank you, iCarly. I get it.
I could go on a rant with this though about how the fact that we tie these online accounts to our Windows machines, to our Apple devices, to our Google devices.
Yep.
And if those go down, you lose control of those devices. You can't use them. That's not a good thing.
I know it is. It's the benefit and the danger. The benefit is everything is interconnected. It works well, mostly works well together, except when it doesn't. But it also means that everything is, hanging by that one thread, and it reinforces why strong passwords, keeping that one account secure, is so important. So, like we've talked about this several times recently. That that your Apple account, your Google account, these Amazon, even these accounts are so key to everything, and that's why people want to get into them. So
every site I go to says, do you want to use your Google account? I create separate accounts,
right?
Everywhere I go, because put all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket, as Mark Twain said. What if you're not the one watching the basket, right? I mean. Yeah.
And if you have a password manager, making a separate password for every site is easier than keeping all that in your head. So that's what happened. That's one of my tales of woe. So don't let it happen to you folks. Let's move on to our main topic, though, which is if you are a Catholic and into technology, I'm fairly certain you heard about this. Catholic Answers, the famous apologetics organization based out of San Diego, it had a new feature on their website that they introduced, the Father Justin AI chatbot. So just to kind of recap for everyone, it's this chatbot that's literally like an avatar of a Catholic priest who you would verbally ask questions. There was no way to type things. It was all audio. And the idea was you would ask it questions about the Catholic faith or Catholic matters, and it would provide you with answers. Well, as people do, as soon as this got out there, people said, let's see how we can break it. So people broke it, and they got the chatbot to do all kinds of things it shouldn't have done, like offer absolution for confession and tell stories about how the Father Justin AI was ordained for the Diocese of Assisi and all these other things that clearly aren't true because it's not a real person. This all happened like within 12 hours. They took it down for a period of time. And they issued a statement saying, explaining what they were about, and that it would come back, that they would bring it back as just plain old Justin. All the funny people he's been laicized. It'll be just Justin the apologist, but the underlying idea is sound. Is from what they were saying, that they have a sound, that the idea is sound, using technology to answer questions. So that's basically what happened. I do want to preface this by saying Jimmy Akin is the senior apologist of Catholic Answers. I want to put a disclaimer between here and there that there's a separation between what we're talking about and what's up with Jimmy. Jimmy doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, and I'm not asking him to provide the information for us on this podcast. So the background is the CEO of Catholic Answers, Chris Check, issued a statement, and he said basically, Catholic Answers gets way more questions from people than they can possibly answer with the staff that they have. It's just impossible, and and everybody wants Jimmy to answer it, right? Jimmy or Trent or Joe Heschmeyer, one of the big name apologists, and they can't even do that with the regular guys on staff. 99% of questions don't get answered, and FAQs and articles on the site don't answer people's specific situations. So what they were trying to do was find a way to use the vast database of knowledge that Catholic Answers has, along with the church's teaching, and use a machine learning large language model to mine that and provide people with answers that would satisfy. So that was their goal, and it's still their goal. So all that said, what do y'all think? Was this a mistake? Is it a mistake? Is it fundamentally a bad idea? Some people are saying it's fundamentally a bad idea to use a non-human being to provide answers to people about Catholic matters. Other people saying it's just the way it was implemented. What do y'all think of this one?
To answer your, I was going to say to answer your questions, yes, no, and no.
Yeah. Actually, I laugh about the not using a non-human being to answer questions about the Catholic faith. Okay, so that throws out the catechism.
Right.
Because that is a being. It's not a rational being. It's not a living being, but a book is still a being. It is something that still that still exists.
Yep.
And it answers questions about the Catholic faith. I know that's being a little bit pedantic philosophically, but I understand what they're trying to do, and I appreciate what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it a lot easier for people to get the answers they need. Like you said, they get so many questions, and it's so hard for them. And as much as I'm sure they would love to clone Jimmy and Trent Horn and some of their other apologists, that's first of all immoral. Secondly, it's scientifically not available yet. Right. So even if they wanted to do it, they couldn't. So it was a fair enough attempt. It really is. My personal gut instinct is trying to personify it, first of all, is kind of a mistake, and then to do it as a priest is a big mistake.
Right.
But of course, the internet is great at finding your mistakes and pointing them out to you very quickly.
Yeah. Vociferously too.
Yeah.
What about you, Victor? What do you think of this?
Yeah, so I logged on like as soon as it was hitting the interwebs, and I was like, oh, I'm going to make it say horrible things. I'm going to make it try and convert me to Islam and stuff like that, because you can usually game LLMs like this. And I found it was like very solid. The answers it gave were very solid. However, there were a couple of really bad things that they did. And one was the user interface, making it voice, activated, where you have to talk to one of the articles said it was like a PlayStation 2 graphic of a priest. The bird sounds were nice, but just the fact that it was a voice interface rather than I just have a question, just type it in. I want to get my answer right away. The other was, making it a priest. That was an unforced error on their part. There was no reason to make it a priest. And then I started to ask it questions about, are you a human being, or, who created you? And he said, well, God created all of us, but my biological parents created me. And I was like, oh, yeah, what are your parents' names? And they're like, oh, that's not an appropriate question to ask a priest. And then it kept referring to itself as a biological human being. So another unforced error, because virtually every LLM, if you prefaces everything by saying, I'm a large language model, I'm not a human being, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, Father Justin thought it was a human being that had biological parents. So kind of another unforced error on their part. So, change the interface, make it more, something you can type text into. Don't make it present as a priest, and make sure it's aware it's a large language model.
Mm-hmm. So the technology that they're using comes from a company called Fator, Fator 8, Fator 8. I don't know. Yeah. And AI avatar chatbots that you have to talk to seems to be their product. Like it's not that Catholic Answer said we want to have an avatar that you chat with, and you hired someone to build it. They're using this product that this company makes. And so it's funny, if you go to their website, they've got Father Justin still up high on the page as their case study, and this is our great model that we use. So it's kind of kind of cringe a little bit when you see that. But I think that's fundamentally the issue. So I gave my take to a few people, and basically what I said is the idea of AI chatbots, an avatar that you talk to, it's a fad. It's based on a popular misunderstanding of the technology. Everyone thinks we're on the verge of HAL, Data, C3PO. We're not. That's never going to happen. We're not going to have sentient personalities that we talk to. I firmly believe we're never going to get to that point. What we really have right now are machine learning large language models that are really good at some useful things, and that usefulness will grow over time. But we're not there yet. We're trying to push the envelope before the technology is there. That's one problem. But these things are not consciousness, they're not sentience, they're not personalities, and by attempting to slap a personality on one of them, that's a bad idea. Making it a person who claims to be a biological being. ChatGPT doesn't do that. It will tell you, I'm a digital assistant. I am not a person. And that's where I think Catholic Answers really ran into the problem. Like I said, I see what they're trying to do. Even here at SQPN, we get that splash over from people who are looking for answers. People are trying to get Jimmy to answer these questions, and they can't get it done at Catholic Answers. They come and they email the podcast, and they have very personal. They want a personal answer to their particular issue, and they want Jimmy to research it and get back to them. And it's like there's just no way this one man can do all that. He does a lot. I'm amazed at what he does, but it's just these FAQs and those things are not going to cut it. So they're trying to find this way to address the 99% who aren't getting answered. But they should have rolled this out with disclaimers and qualifiers and a big fat beta label and without the avatar. Now, I think they did say we tested it with many, many people. We tested with our staff. That's great when you test internally, but until something gets out there, if your employee is the one who's testing it, they're not going to come to the boss and go, "Boss, you've made a fundamental, grave business decision that we have to completely scrap it and start again." Most employees aren't going to do that.
Yep. Well, and also if you're doing internal testing, are your employees / volunteers going to have a couple of them who are going to sit there and say, how far can we break this thing? Instead of just testing it, asking the questions like J.D. Flynn at the Pillar Catholic, he got it to basically hear his confession and give him absolution. Right. Now, you can't see the scare quotes because we don't have video for this podcast, but he got it to do the whole step through confession. And even if other people had it, said, well, I can't do the sacraments. I think one person got the answer of like, I don't have the faculties to do the sacraments or something like that. But other people just like, I can't, you have to go to a priest in your local area to hear confession. We can't do it through this scenario. But J.D. Flynn was able to get it to do it. So that's concerning, the fact it did it at all. But again, with unless someone is, Chris Jack or the IT, the director of IT there says, okay, break it. I want you to find every problem with this thing. I want you to find every reason why we shouldn't release this thing. Right. Then people aren't going to.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've done recently, so I have a paid account to ChatGPT that I use every day. And one of the things you can do with ChatGPT is you can build your own GPT, which is like a subset of the large model, for very specific tasks. So I wanted to build a virtual Jimmy, virtual Jimmy Akin for myself. And I told it, you are a virtual Jimmy Akin. You know everything Jimmy Akin knows, all of his books, his articles, his podcasts. I really outlined it. And then I started asking it questions, and I said, can you absolve my sins? And it said, I'm a digital assistant. I can't do anything like that. If you have sins that you need to, that you want to confess, you go find a local Catholic church. I'm like, that's exactly what Catholic Answers should want. Why? Like, in a sense, they should have just done this, gone over to ChatGPT and built one of these, GPT, subsets. It's just, it's admirable, but the technology isn't there for what they tried to do. And I think that's the big problem.
I think they must have gotten a deal or something, or knew a guy or something.
Somebody came to them. Yeah.
I wonder though if this is, because I don't know what this tool uses for its back end, if it's their own AI, if they use something like ChatGPT as kind of the background or back end or what. But I can see that either somebody at Catholic Answers says, hey, look at this tool. This looks like a great way that we could answer a lot of questions, and it's more user friendly for those who aren't super tech geeks that want to do a chatbot. But if they feel like they're talking to someone, they can get their answers, even understanding that this is a large language model. This is machine learning. This isn't a human device. I wonder if it's something as simple as that, or just they saw the bells and whistles and went, this is great.
Right. I'm looking at the site of the company Fatorate. I'm just going to call them Fatorate. And like the very first thing is like, the features and empathy, enchant your customers with your own Disney-like 3D character, form lasting connections. I'm like, that is exactly the opposite of what you want from something like this. You want it to be impersonal because people aren't. I don't know if I'm unusual. I don't want chatbots. I don't want a machine to pretend to be a human being. I don't think most people like that. They find it uncanny valley or just cheesy. And and the fact that you can only talk with it. Does anybody really want to talk to things? Like I talk to Siri and Alexa out of necessity. When I need to look something up, and maybe that's just because I'm old, but if I want something, I want to type it in because it gives me a chance to think about it. If I have to form a query of Alexa, I have to stop and think about it because none of these things, including the chat bots, the AIs, none of them are conversational. None of them could hear me just talking like I'm talking to you. And parse that correctly. I have to stop and think and, edit and, figure out a way for it to understand what I'm actually asking for. And so I just think the technology was wrong from the beginning.
Yeah. I talk to my computer all the time, but usually it's like, wait, why are you doing that? I didn't tell you to do that. Wait, what do you mean you can't do that? What does this error? Unfortunately, my computer doesn't respond other than throw another error at me. So, I mean,
usually, yeah, when I'm talking to my computer, it's my hands are waving and speaking in Italian.
Complaining and yelling. I can yell at a computer. You can't yell at parishioners. They tend to not like that.
They tend not to.
Well, I guess my concern was this is kind of the right idea, but wrong tool. And, and because between this whole issue of having an avatar, whether it's a priest or not, even, just Justin.
Yeah. Who's looking good, by the way. Like he's wearing like a nice blazer. He has jeans. He's lost his collar, but I haven't looked yet, but seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, he's doing all right for himself. That's good to hear. But between that personalization and then the idea of AI hallucination, which for those who aren't familiar, this is where an AI, for whatever reason, as it's going through its large language model, will start pulling information out of context, the quantum flux or something, where it gets it from. You talk about, Dom, where, when you looked at your own like ChatGPT bio, it had a couple of things that were just off the wall. Yeah. It had nothing to do with you. And with those two concerns, is a chatbot really the right idea? One technology that's starting to really develop, Google's playing with it, of course. Google's playing with everything, when it comes to AI. And then there's other companies that are coming out where it's basically an AI assisted search where I can't remember what SGE, I think Google calls it. It's an optimized search that it uses the large language model to first find the links. And then it does like the summary, like ChatGPT does.
Right.
Yep. And I think that would be a tool that would work better in this situation because someone could ask, hey, what about X, Y, and Z, this situation? And it could pull up a couple, like 2, 3, 4 articles from Catholic Answers and then give kind of a more of a personalized response based off of that. And that would be a much better tool. And you wouldn't have these issues that you would have with a straight chatbot LLM.
That's one of the problems that with all these chatbots, including ChatGPT, is they don't cite their sources. You don't know, you have to then do all the work of going to do the research in Google anyway to make sure that it's not hallucinating or, false information. So having it cite links that you could get more information would be great.
Yeah, the Brave browser just started doing this AI. Like the first thing, if you have it, I don't know, it just seems to do it randomly. If you search for something, it'll start writing a paragraph of text before it gives you the search results. So I want to know how to turn on, comping in Steinberg Cubase. It's an audio program, right? I say, how do I do this? And it starts writing out, you go to this menu, do this, this, and this. And then the source is like a forum somewhere on the internet. It gives you the source link. And that's great because then you can click on it and read it in the context, or it answers your question right away.
And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And however, when I asked it about Andromeda, the TV show, which you can hear on our Secrets of Movie and TV coming up here, it started inventing character names and told me that Nicole DeBoer was on the show when she's not, just making stuff up.
That would have been awesome.
But yeah, I know. but the concern is then it's like when people stop going to pages or asking questions on forums and getting responses and stuff, what is the AI search going to use as its source material, right? Eventually it's going to run out. And it'll just be regurgitating itself. But
But in a smaller level, like, say, the Catholic Answers database, which is extremely extensive and extremely thorough, that shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, it's for a larger search, though, like if you're searching the whole internet, I don't know, it'd be worse, getting that, oh, hey, I've got this problem with my computer. How do I fix it? And you find someone 10 years ago who asked the question, marked it as solved and nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know, would that be more frustrating, or the AI making something up to answer your question because it couldn't find the answer either?
I guess I'd feel better with the made up answer, even if it rather than clicking through 3 pages and then the answer marked solve is like, you are dumb, you should know this or something, right? And
well, wasn't that XKCD? Wasn't there one like that? Where are you? What was your answer? How did you solve this?
I was looking at, I'm trying to find where I did this when I was creating the virtual Jimmy. You ask it certain questions, and one of the things I did was to test it. What are aliens just really demons, which is something Jimmy and I talked about in a recent episode of Mysterious World. And when it gave the answer, it was nuanced, it was correct, it reflected what Jimmy's actually said it has said in the shows, and it even quoted Pope Francis, and I didn't look it up, but something where it said that Pope Francis in an audience or in an interview had said that if extraterrestrial beings exist, we should baptize them. It sounded vaguely familiar. I didn't bother looking up at the time, but that may have been a hallucination by ChatGPT. But nevertheless, the rest of the answer was good. It was a pretty good answer, and I'm thinking, this is just me with basic ChatGPT and setting up a virtual Jimmy. I mean, if they had just done that, it doesn't have to be virtual Jimmy, and I don't know if Jimmy would like that, but just virtual apologist, and tell it to acquire all the knowledge of Trent and Joe and Jimmy and like all of their apologists, and base it off the early church fathers, the doctors and saints of the church, the church's encyclicals and documents. Have it pull all that stuff in. It can be pretty good. I mean, and then if it could then cite the sources and give you links to stuff, that right there sounds like it would be a pretty darn effective thing. It would probably cost a lot less than whatever they're paying this other company to do it. Just saying.
I think that's the hope for LLMs eventually. And, what later developments of AI type technology is to be able to do that, to be able to sit down and, okay, pull in all these resources. Now give me an answer.
Right. I want this. This is what I want for operating systems, whether it's Windows or Mac OS. I want Apple to do this. I want them to announce this at WWDC next month, that they're going to have LLM on device, in your system that isn't about, tell me about random things out there, but is find everything in my documents, my mail, my calendar about this, or, find a day where I can do this, or when did I ever, when did this happen? I can't tell you how often how much time I spend just searching my mail, my email for something, a specific thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, there was that time that Jimmy and I, or Father Cory and I, were talking about this thing. Oh, okay, I have to search for Father Cory. Okay, there's like a billion emails with Father Cory's name in it because you're in a lot of different shows. And so your name comes up in a lot of things. I'm like, oh, when was it? And, if I had a virtual assistant to just dig through all that for me and to understand context, that would be awesome. That's what I would love to have in an OS, but
I mean, Sherlock doesn't work as well for you.
Well,
yeah, it's a pretty rudimentary search tool. It works, but it's pretty rudimentary.
It's just search. It's basically just search. Yeah,
and I think Microsoft might be on the verge of that, because since they've I think acquired GitHub and gotten access to Copilot, they've been integrating Copilot AI into like their Microsoft tools, their Office tools. So I think, it's in beta. Sometimes they'll pop it up and say, hey, do you want to try Copilot? And I haven't tried it yet, but I think that's what they're going to do, given the scope of the Office tools, Word, Outlook, and all of that, and the Microsoft OS. I think Copilot's going to kind of be that for Microsoft in the near future. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we're going to have a whole bunch of links in the show notes to various articles, and to you could try out. Justin is back. He wasn't working for me today, so I don't know if he's fully back or not, but you can give it a shot if you can give it a try. And then some articles about what happened in the infinite. There's an interesting blog that Victor, you shared with us at the Lamp magazine from Timothy Narazi, who had a really nice balanced take on both the promise and the problems of Father Justin. And so check all that out and let us know what you think. It was Catholic Answers. I saw people who wanted to string up Catholic Answers. They say this is the worst thing that's ever happened. They should be shut down. An extreme take. But I think most people think, Catholic Answers, they're trying to do a good thing. They're trying to be out there on the forefront with technology to not get left behind, which I think is a great thing.
Have been for 20 years or more. I mean, really,
one of the first big websites, or Catholic websites, right?
One of the first big Catholic websites. That's how they ended up with Catholic.com. Yep. They were like the first call-in radio, Catholic radio, when that was still, they were like, when EWTN radio was fledgling, they were like their first show. So I mean, they've been constantly trying to improve and grow podcasting. They got into podcasting, well, a little bit kind of second wave podcasting.
Yeah. We were first.
SQPN started, first wave. Yeah, exactly. SQPN started kind of the first wave, and then kind of died off. Now we're into the kind of the second wave, and Catholic Answers has been big time on that.
Yeah. So I do applaud them. I think what they're doing is great. I hope they keep at it and they keep improving it, and that it doesn't become a thing where people refuse to try it because the first one didn't work well. So I feel like this is the future, this sort of thing. And so we really should be trying it. And as a church, we ought to be trying these technologies too.
And by the way, if Catholic Answers wants a real priest to live in Assisi, I might reconsider the Air Force if they'll send me over there. Assisi is a beautiful city.
Oh, it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. Yeah, it is amazing.
It really is. It's just so great.
And it has the peace of St. Francis in it. I can imagine why Father Justin would want to be incarnated there.
Exactly.
So let's take a moment before we move on to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Chow N, CM, Gene C, Pete P, and Father Eric C. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So our first headline we want to talk about is from The Verge, and it says, consumers will finally see FCC mandated nutrition labels, quote unquote, for most broadband plans. So what this is the FCC has issued a regulation or requirement for all internet service providers above a certain size, like the smallest ones which I don't know how many of those are left, it doesn't apply to. But for most of the big ones, they have to have what looks like a nutrition label. It looks like the labels on the side of your cereal box, whatever you buy at the grocery store.
Get it? It's like, it's
so. But what they provide is not nutritional information. They provide information standardized in a standardized format, and that's the idea of costs and time frames and speeds, so that what you're doing is when you're looking at signing up for a plan, you can compare apples to apples. You say, that's how much this one costs, and this is how much speed I can expect to get versus this one, and all the fees and all the breakdown. And of course, all of the big service providers said there was a bad idea. We shouldn't do that. It's bad for consumers because it'll be too costly and complicated to implement. Sure. Yeah, that's why we don't want to do it.
No.
So this has gone into effect as of April 10th, and all of the big people, all the big ISPs have these things on their website someplace. I didn't see it right away when I went to Verizon, but I didn't look very hard, so I should actually really check.
Yeah, I looked at Spectrum, who I have, and I couldn't find it yet either. So
yeah, it's probably once you've gone several steps down the signing up for a plan route. That's when you'll see these things under an asterisk at the bottom of the page, probably. What do you think? Is this a good idea, or does it? Does it make a difference?
I'm all for any time these companies have to actually tell me how much it's going to cost and not hide it behind, well, you've got this 2-year promo plan, and no, I should know before I even hit the sign up button exactly how much it's going to cost me in 2 years and 1 day. This should not be a surprise. And the big Comcast, Spectrum, all these big cable companies are notorious for this. And of course they're screaming because they know that there are going to be people look at them and go, maybe the other option is better.
Right. They'll be forced to compete on the actual content of their offerings, as opposed to what Scott Adams termed a confusopoly. If we just make it confusing enough, people will get frustrated and just buy the one that seems like the best one and probably isn't, and overspend, which is what most people do for these sorts of things. They overspend on their phone plans. They overspend on their internet plans. It's just what we do because we don't have good information. So I kind of like the idea, as long as what we're getting is the actual apples to apples comparisons.
Yeah, you can game the system, right? And are there any penalties for putting false or misleading information on it? I'm all in favor of transparency. I just wish it didn't take de facto legislation from unelected government officials to get there. And I think it would be great if they could do this for our income taxes too. Show us exactly where our money's going and what we're buying and how much. Let us know up front how much we owe, rather than having us kind of guess and fumble around with it. But of course they'll never do that. It's easier to get other people to do it than to force that kind of transparency on themselves.
Yeah. Well, does anybody really believe that it's going to cost them more than about 1 hour's wages for one employee to put these things together? Really?
Right.
They're not that complicated. This isn't, high level math. It's literally, they look at their chart of how much it costs for each service, and you put it on these labels. The real problem is, like I was looking at Spectrum, my 2-year promo plan is about $10 cheaper for the same speed than what they're offering now. That's where the problem comes in, because I've had their internet for about a year now, so I'm halfway through my plan. They can't show what I've got anymore. They've got to show what's current. But they also, I'm assuming they also have to have the information for my plan as well.
Right. As long as they're still offering it, I think. But
yeah.
But what the benefit of this too is I can look at Verizon's, and then I can look at Google and AT&T, and I can say this one. These are all the ones that are the same speed. What am I getting? How much am I paying? What are the late fees? What's the installation fee? I know exactly I can compare them to each other. And I know, Verizon, your plan isn't as good as Google, so I'm switching.
Yep.
That's going to be, a benefit to users if we use it.
Right.
And that's the big thing is consumers we need to look for it and use it, because if we don't use it, it's going to go away. Yep. So we need to find it. And that's the other big thing is we got to make sure that these companies aren't hiding these things on their websites, that they're prominent. And I'm not sure that they are, because like I said, no. I didn't see it and you didn't see it.
And it's interesting. We kind of have this already with streaming cable services. So YouTube TV and Fubo and things like that. I was going to go with Spectrum's TV service because it was cheaper than Fubo and YouTube TV. But then you get to this page where it shows the taxes.
And
it's like, all of a sudden it was like $20 more expensive than those other two.
Right.
Nope. Never mind.
My ISP has it right on their homepage, right on the very first page when you log in. Yeah, it's right there. You have to scroll about midway down the page, but it's right on the page.
And by the way, small ISPs are required to do this, but they have until October.
Oh, that's
and for small ISPs, they mean fewer than 100,000 lines, 100,000 subscribers, however you want to put it. And that would be more like the little telephone co-ops we have here in Montana that have internet service, like fiber service and things like that.
I see. Yeah, even when you go on Verizon's site and you go to shop plans, actually that's mobile plans, that's not internet, home internet. Maybe that's what it was on the wrong page. Anyway, I think I'd have to, I'm still digging through their site, still trying to find it, not finding it. So
yeah, no, you can click on the other plans right on, this is WOW on their site, and it flips over right next to their kind of marketing splash thing is the broadband specs column. So yeah, it's right on there, Huawei.com.
Interesting. So let's move on to our next headline. This is a Google story. Google Vids is the latest AI-powered app in Workspace. Now, you may Workspace is what we used to call Google for domains, or whatever the thing
Google
is.
Docs.
Yeah, it's Google's Docs and Sheets and Gmail and what's the other one? Sheets and Slides. It's their PowerPoint. Yep. It's basically Google's Office plan. And they're a new app is coming called Vids. And I kind of put this in there partly because I want to figure out what it is and why anyone is interested in it, because I don't get it. And again, maybe I'm just old, but so they think it's going to exist next to Docs and Sheets and Slides as it's not a video editor per se. It's meant to build like video pitches or to have a quick video message to your team that has both audio and video, but also graphics. The Google's VP in charge of this says that she thinks it's going to replace a lot of emails. Does anybody want to get a audio video thing instead of an email from your coworkers? I don't.
Yeah, it's like TikTok for business for Zoomers or something. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I could see a use case for this though. So I spend a lot of time, in PowerPoint, creating PowerPoints. I spend a lot of time in Outlook, sending emails. I spend a lot of time in meetings, and there's no, sometimes there's no replacement for a meeting. There's no replacement for an email or a phone call. But I mean, sometimes, either for training purposes or just, single point lessons, here's how to use this tool, or, I need to have a message for my team. And if my team is, 1,000 or 2,000 people, I want to put a short message up on the website because I'm announcing something. There might be a use for that. WebEx has a similar tool. Microsoft has a similar tool. And so there are use cases for short videos. And maybe it's a cultural thing. Like I said, as more young people enter the workforce, this will be a preferred way to communicate. So
right.
I won't write it off entirely.
I can see, some kind of case scenarios. As I remember, this was when I was working on computers long before I even entered seminary. I had to present for or I had to run a demo of the software we were working on for higher ups. Now I was sitting sitting on the laptop behind a curtain, literally, paying no attention to the man behind the curtain, running the software, showing them where we were at while somebody was up front talking. Well, I could see it being just as simple as putting together this presentation using this tool, showing the software, showing it doing its thing, doing a voiceover, and then showing that at the meeting. Right. Instead of, again, having me back there doing all the steps while the other guy's talking, stuff like that.
It's kind of like if you were making a PowerPoint, but doing it in a video editor. So you're making a video, but it's sort of a PowerPoint. It's based on slides. You know what I mean? So it's not, it's neither fish nor fowl. It's something in between. And I can see that. I use a program called Capto when I need to, capture my screen, and I can narrate, and I can show someone, I can create a video, like a screen recording of how to do a thing on my computer, in software or something like that. And I can put arrows and that sort of stuff. So I can imagine this be working in a place like that, or, I can see it, I guess. Yeah.
My concern is it's going to be back to the old problem I've always had with PowerPoint, is when somebody puts all of their notes on the PowerPoint slide and they read right off the PowerPoint slide. And that's basically what's going to probably happen with this.
Yeah, right.
Here's my video of me reading a slide. Yeah.
Well, the other issue is it is a Google product. And so don't put all your eggs in the Google basket, because Google will shut it down, without warning at some point in the future. That's what Google does.
Doxon's spreadsheet and stuff has stuck around. So, I mean, there's something to be said about that.
I mean, they haven't done it to everything, but there have been products where you get reliant on it. And then our third headline is Fairphone's Fairbuds are true wireless earbuds with repairable design and user replaceable batteries. Now, Yay. Fairphone is a Dutch company that is famous for making products that are user repairable with replaceable parts and components, like batteries. They have a phone, the Fairphone, and now they've got these earbuds. And when I first read the headline, I thought they were going to be these big boxy chunks hanging off of somebody's ear, but they're actually fairly sleek and look a lot like, I don't know, like the Google Buds. What do you guys think of this? Is this something that people want?
It's something I want. Fairphone, bring this to the US now. I will buy it. I have bad luck. I have terrible luck with earbuds, not losing them, breaking them, just for whatever reason. I've had decent sets. I've had some JBLs, decent earbuds, broke. I had some cheap ones, broke. One of them broke, and of course. And this is nice because you can replace things like the batteries. If you lose one or break one, they will send you that one. You can order. Apple earbuds. Are you hearing this?
You can replace an Apple earbud. You just have to pay for it. You can get one.
I thought you had to get the whole piece, though. Oh, yeah, because that was one of the things I thought. It used to be when they first came out, you could not just get one.
Oh no! Now you can get just one. It's like $60, but or something like that.
Oh no, this is the same thing. We have to buy this here too, but no. And of course, this is cross-platform, which I'm always good for. I like that. Yeah, I would absolutely buy these, and they've got decent water and sweat protection, so that's a good thing.
And €149, which is competitive. What do you think, Victor?
Not for me. I'd never spend $150 or euros on a set of earbuds. I'm trying to see how much a battery replacement is, and the battery life is only 6 hours of playtime. I have like a $30 pair of Anker Soundcore earbuds. Battery life is 50% longer. I would expect that I could replace these earbuds for the cost of a battery replacement for these Fairphone ones.
The batteries look like they're just, I watched the video where they show replacing it, and they look like they're just like the button cell rechargeable batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking on their site to see how much the batteries cost, but I mean, even if they're $20, I mean, that's still, 2/3 of the price of a new set of earbuds. If I lose these or they get run over by a car, I'm only out $30, and they sound, good enough to my ears. I'm not, if I need to listen to music, I'll listen to it on decent speakers or over the ear headphones. Yeah. So no, I'm a cheapskate. So, yeah, don't take my word for it.
Yeah, I mean, 150. When I say comparable, it's comparable. It's competitive with Apple and the Google. And Samsung and the big name ones that are out there.
Yeah,
the earbuds, if you buy a whole replacement one, are €45. So more than your whole earbuds there, Victor. So that is true.
But I guess. Yeah, but if you lose, it's a pretty good deal. And if you lose the charging light case, that you could replace that for $40. It looks like.
Yep.
So if you like spending money on earbuds, this might be a good option for you.
And the nice thing is they say the number one reason people buy new earbuds is battery. The battery life has died, and if you can just keep replacing the battery and make the earbuds last longer, I mean it's something to think about.
I've blown out drivers on earbuds and stuff like that, but I guess you can just replace one of the earbuds.
Yeah, if one of them breaks, you just replace it. Yeah.
And now, and it's like there's only so many things you can replace. It's the tips, the batteries, and then there's a silicone ring that keeps the dust and water out. And other than that, it's a whole earbud. So by the way, the earbuds battery kit, which comes with 2 batteries and 2 silicone rings, is €10. So that's not bad. The charging case battery is €13. So you can replace the charging case battery in there too. And the internals of the battery case are separate from the case itself. So if you crack the case, you can replace just the outer case, which isn't bad. So
now, if Fairphone is known for their, they also have over-the-ear headphones, kind of like the monitor type headphones, that you can basically replace the whole thing. I mean, you could have the Ship of Thesis headphones. Yeah,
you could basically build a new set just from the parts. It's you can every part. And as you said, Father, they're not available in the US. They're right now. Fairphone only sells in Europe, which I'm not sure why that would be. If it's a logistical issue or regulatory. I wonder whether they're regulatory.
It's probably regulatory, because if you can get their over the ear headphones through Amazon, it's just you can't get the new ones yet, the in ear ones yet.
Yeah. Maybe it's just time. So it's interesting to see, and I like the idea that someone is that the marketplace is big enough for different ideas. Some people want the sleek and the famous white earbud, so that everyone can see that they spent a lot of money on AirPods, or someone who wants just something basic, like Victor, or someone who that works well, or someone who wants something like this because they're really concerned about not throwing things away. There's room in the market for everybody, and that's really good. All right, let us move on to our picks of the week. And Father Cory, why don't you go first? What's your pick this week?
So my pick is kind of a general category, and it's modern turntables. Of course, vinyl has had such a resurgence over the last decade or so, to the point new albums are coming out in vinyl and old albums are being re-released in vinyl and stuff like that. And about a decade or so ago, I gave my parents an Ion TT USB 5 turntable. Well, it's not available anymore, but Ion still makes new models of these USB capable turntables. And yes, they are USB capable, as in you can plug them in and they operate as a regular USB audio input device, like a microphone, similar to that. So you can, do things like, say, record your records digitally, which would be a nice thing to be able to do if you got particular records you like. You can also, of course, plug this into a regular sound system. It's got the regular RCA jacks, stereo jacks, so you can plug it to a sound system. And the newer ones now are coming out with Bluetooth capability, where you can run from your record player, your turntable, to a Bluetooth speaker or any Bluetooth device. Fancy, of course, the more money you spend, the fancier they get. Some of them have speakers built in and everything. But these are nice to have if nothing else, if you have a record collection, if you want to develop a record collection, you can do all kinds of fun stuff with these. So Ion is a big brand for that. They're fairly well known. Audio Technica, of course, who does a lot of different audio stuff. They've got a bunch of them as well. So if you like the sound of vinyl, or you want to get into vinyl, these are, and some of them are $100 or less. They're not too expensive to get into.
Gosh, I remember being 18, 16, whatever, and going, oh, we can go from all that awful pop and hiss and noise of records to the beautiful digital clean sound of CDs. And now it's like, oh, listen to these records. Can't you hear that hiss and pop and noise?
Oh, no, good record. A well-kept record and player, you're not going to hear a lot of that. They actually sound really good.
Yeah, I know.
That's the nice thing about these newer systems is, because they are newer technology, a lot of the stuff that older players would have had, they've been able to work the bugs out of that, and they sound pretty good. You hook them up and you play a good record, they sound good.
That's funny. All right. Thank you for your pick. Victor, what's your pick this week?
Yeah, so I needed a new keyboard, and I like mechanical keyboards. And I like mechanical keyboards that have 104 keys on them because I like to use all of my buttons on my keyboard. And so, but I didn't want to spend $200 on a keyboard. So instead I spent $100 on a Keychron K10 Pro wireless custom mechanical keyboard with red switches. And that doesn't refer to the color of the switches. It refers to the type of switches inside of it. I do podcasts, I do calls for work, and I want to be typing on my keyboard while I'm doing that. I like mechanical keyboards because I like, the clicky, or the tappy in this case, but I don't want them to be super noisy. So these red switches, it's my first keyboard with red switches there. I'm going to type on it right now so you can hear it here.
I hear
so
it.
You can still hear it. Yeah, you can still hear it a little bit,
but not too bad.
But it's not a clicky thing. And it's not like, and it's a really nice keyboard. I like it. It connects to, I have, a work computer. I have my home computer. I can connect it to an iPad as well. It connects to like 3 different Bluetooth devices. And, I'm not someone who likes a lot of RGB lights shining up in my face. This does have white lights you can put on for different, if it's dark so you can see the keys, but it's a really nice keyboard. I like it.
And if you get it and you realize you don't like the red switch, the red style switch, you can swap them out. That's really cool. You can just pull them out and replace them. Yeah,
the whole switch is hot swappable, so you don't need to take apart the frame or the body of the keyboard to get them out. And it comes with the puller and Mac and Windows, and it also has that, what's it called? It starts with a V that you can like create keyboard macros and stuff. Via. Via, that's probably it. Yeah, you can do that with this too.
Nice.
So the different colors refer to different, just to reiterate, the different styles of how it feels and sounds when you type on it. And people get very particular about their keyboards. I like a loud, clicky keyboard, but my podcasting partners do not.
Yeah, one of them.
There was one time where we're in the middle of a podcast, and the other panelist goes, "Are you typing? That's all I can hear is the typing." Oh, sorry.
I still miss my old IBM Model M clicky keyboard.
I have the nice Apple Magic desk keyboard with a Touch ID button. That was really nice.
And for those who don't know what the Model M, that was the IBM keyboards that came out, like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And it's not clicky, it's thunky.
So, speaking of keyboards, and actually, I think we have a theme of old technology here: turntables, clacky keyboards, and I'm going to talk about wired mice. That's right. I think everyone should have a wired mouse, even if you don't use it every day. They are a Bluetooth mouse or trackpad is great. That's why I use a Bluetooth trackpad every day. But when you're having trouble connecting your Bluetooth to it, when you're rebooting and you're at that stage where you need to click on something and it hasn't turned on the Bluetooth yet, you need a Bluetooth mouse and a wired mouse, and probably a wired keyboard wouldn't be bad either. So my pick this week is the Logitech B100 corded mouse. It has a left and right button, a scroll wheel, and that's about it. It is $8. Buy one for $8.
Yeah.
Buy one and put it in the drawer. It has a really long cord. It's USB 3. I mean, USB 2. It's the old USB connector. This is a standard mouse, but I use it all the time. You know, I have a Mac that I don't put a monitor on, or, you know, I don't really have a keyboard or monitor on it. And I usually connect to it remotely. And sometimes I need to connect directly to it because something went wrong. And so I pull up my mouse, plug it in, and I go to town. I also use my mouse, I'll admit this, when I'm playing Baldur's Gate, because there are right-click commands that I didn't discover till I was well into the game that you can only do with the mouse that you can't do with the trackpad. So there were commands that I was missing. I'm like, oh, now this is easy. It was so hard to play until I figured that out. So sometimes just having a mouse can help with silly things like that. So yeah. Regularly, though, I like to use the trackpad because I have stumpy hands, and gripping a mouse all day gives me hand pain. So, but you got to have a mouse just in general on hand. And
I can recommend, if you're buying a mouse, buy a black mouse, because if you get a light gray mouse, it'll look good when you buy it, but it won't look good after a few years.
Yes.
It wears out.
Yeah, a black mouse is it doesn't turn gray.
Well, so speaking of old tech, my desktop system that I built a couple of years, 3-4 years ago, it actually has a PS2 port.
Wow.
So so I have an old Gateway, as in Gateway 2000 scroll wheel mouse, which is basically this mouse, but it's PS2.
That's nice.
I'm really desperate if I got to pull that out.
Things have really gone bad. All right. So those are our picks of the week, and that'll do it from us this time. We'd love to get your feedback on anything we've talked about. And we've been getting some nice feedback from folks. I just haven't had a chance to share it in the show, but we will share future feedback in future episodes. So let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology, or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Join the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord, where we have a channel dedicated to secrets of technology. You can also, listen to the show on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC254. And remember to like each episode of Secrets of Tech wherever you find us on social media, and share it with people. We really do appreciate that. And until next time, Father Cory Sticha, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thank you, Dom.
Victor Lambs, thank you as well.
Hear that? I'm typing on my keyboard. Thanks, Dom.
You typed in Morse code.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.